Bienvenidos, amigos. Welcome to the Latitude Adjustment Positive Psychology Podcast. This is part 2 of our special 3-part series called the Panama Diaries. In part 1, we told you about the 3 weeks leading up to our move from North Carolina in the United States to Tierra Oscura in the Bocas del Toro province of Panama. We sold almost everything we owned, intentionally made time for the people we loved, packed what remained, 4 suitcases, 3 duffel bags, 2 large dogs, and 1 guitar, into an enormous rented Jeep Wagoneer, and pulled out of our hometown of Morganton.
So remember how part 1 ended with Erica saying, if anything can go wrong,
give Rusty a boarding pass.
Well, folks, I got that boarding pass. By the time we landed in Panama, 1 dog was heavily sedated. My brand new Caribbean-proof carbon fiber guitar was still in Atlanta. Erica was running on fumes. And I had discovered that first class will continue bringing you rum as long as you maintain a facial expression of a man experiencing an international crisis.
And somehow we never engaged in a single conflict with one another.
Which may, for most partners, have been the most statistically improbable part of the entire trip.
Today, we're telling the story of the single most stressful travel experience of our lives. Getting ourselves 2 very large dogs, hundreds of pounds of luggage, and what we carried forward from our life in North Carolina to an off-grid home in Tierra Oscura. And by the end of this episode, we hope you'll view strengths a little differently. Not as personality labels or gym workout terminology, but as the things people can learn to naturally reach for when a plan starts to sink.
This is the Latitude Adjustment Positive Psychology Podcast with Erica Schwarting-Harrison.
Hola, amigos.
And Randolph Rusty Harrison.
Se dice hola, Rusty.
Hola, Rusty. Where adventure, psychology, and intentional living help you navigate life's next chapter.
Imagine this. You're drinking a cup of iced coffee on your back deck, overlooking your quiet cove on the Caribbean Sea. Salt and humidity permeate the atmosphere. Parrots screech at one another in the distance as you're watching a tribe of howler monkeys travel single file across the jungle's canopy. For some reason, your mind relives the insanity of the journey that brought you to this place. You pulled out of your driveway knowing that almost everything you still owned was packed into the vehicle around you. July heat, pressed against the windows. You hadn't even made it out of town when a warning light appeared on the dashboard. Low tire. So you stopped at the rental car office. They took a quick glance and said, it'll probably be fine. Probably? Yeah, that's a reassuring word when somebody asks if there's enough eggplant casserole to go around. It's less reassuring when your entire remaining earthly inventory is packed geometrically behind your head. So you get on the road. Every bump, a little triggering, and every curve subtly shifts something behind you. And the farther home disappeared in the mirror, the clearer something became. There was very little left that you controlled. Not the tire, the traffic, the airline departure status, not customs, the luggage, not even the dogs. So here's a couple of questions to consider. When a plan starts coming unraveled, what part of you shows up? And what do you discover about the person sitting beside you?
This is the Latitude Adjustment Positive Psychology Podcast, recognized with the Award of Distinction from the Communicator Awards, inducted into the Positive Change Podcast Awards Hall of Fame, and named Podcast of the Year by the American Writing Awards. Join award-winning authors Erica and Rusty Harrison as they combine compelling storytelling, practical psychology, and the rhythms of Caribbean life to explore what it really means to build an intentional life. So limber up. We're about to paddle this dugout Cayuca canoe across the cove.
Okay, part one ended with us pulling away from Morganton.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Everything we'd spent months planning was finally real.
Oh, definitely months and months.
And I was stressed out of my damn mind.
Yeah, I thought you were doing very well. Externally.
Thank you.
Internally, I think you were maybe one dashboard warning light away from needing a priest, and you're an atheist.
That low tire warning followed me spiritually all the way to Atlanta. We chose Atlanta because Copa Airlines had a nonstop flight to Panama City and a reputation for being dog-friendly.
I love that, a reputation for being dog-friendly.
Yeah, we had bought 4, count them, 4 first-class tickets.
I won't ask you how you feel about that.
And don't ask. Erica, me, Hero, and Keel, because traveling internationally with 200 pounds of dog is not the moment to discover the joys of basic economy.
So I was dealing with my post-stroke symptoms. My physical energy was really super limited. And just like off-grid living, every bit of energy requires mindfulness and conservation.
Yeah, we spent our last night in the United States at a hotel in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's supposed to be relaxing, downtime, zen.
While taking what we thought would be a peaceful walk with our dogs near an apartment complex, a grumpy older woman drinking a soda first stared us down hard from a bench, then bitched at us for letting them do their business. We assured her we always pick up after them.
We are absolutely obsessive about that.
Well, that didn't faze her at all. She huffed, walked away in anger, and get this irony, she left her empty soda bottle on the ground.
I thought you were going to say she huffed and puffed and blew our house down. She doesn't have that kind of power.
She had enough power to piss me off.
Dude, you stared at that bottle in silence for quite some time.
Listen, I was processing the moral complexity of that situation. Your Honor, the defense would like to enter one abandoned soda bottle into evidence. That woman had no idea how close we were to grabbing that bottle, starting a bar fight.
And this was all before we'd even arrived at the airport.
Whew. So the next morning, we returned the rental Jeep and unloaded our traveling circus into an Atlanta airport parking garage in the July heat. The dogs, suitcases, duffels, carry-ons, passports, dog gear, and of course, my new carbon fiber guitar.
Then we got misdirected 3 times to the international airport shuttle.
Baby, you say misdirected. What you mean is lost. The Atlanta airport parking garages are basically escape rooms with concrete pillars.
Understatement.
At some point, 2 wonderful young men saw us struggling and stepped in.
They helped us load the suitcases, helped with the dogs, then helped us unload everything at the other end.
I appreciated them tremendously. I also hated needing them. I've always been the guy who carries the heavy thing. Suddenly, I'm standing there in my 60s while 2 young men are carrying my luggage. Apparently, aging doesn't always announce itself on birthdays. Sometimes it shows up in the airport garage and takes your suitcase and your pride.
Hey, accepting the help was one of the smartest things you did all day, love.
My pride just needed a brief memorial service.
Then we reached the check-in counter for Copa Airlines.
The employee checking us in was new and obviously struggling with the process. The dogs were beside us. The line behind us was growing. People were pacing while they waited. Then we learned several of our giant suitcases were overweight.
Damn, and we worked so hard with that little hand scale before we left.
That hand scale must have been bogus.
I'm giving us credit for trying.
We did try.
Yes.
So there we were, opening our luggage on the airport floor and redistributing the last physical remains of our North Carolina life while increasingly impatient travelers watched us.
It's amazing how private your underwear stops feeling when you're repacking your life right in front of everyone at an airline counter.
And you do have some very special underwear.
Hey, shh, 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 shh. Thankfully, we had the strengths-based skill set to divide and conquer. Rusty took Keel and sorted out the weight discrepancy with one suitcase, while I took Hero and knocked out the other. And then there was your guitar.
Yeah, for some reason, the newbie sent me to oversized baggage with my brand new carbon fiber guitar, the one I'd bought specifically because tropical humidity wouldn't destroy it.
What did you do there?
I handed it over, watched it disappear, and felt the kind of concern normally reserved for sending a child to summer camp with strangers.
Oh God, I'm not laughing. Meanwhile, well-meaning adults and children kept trying to interact with the dogs despite the giant "do not pet" patches on their vest. Nobody meant any harm.
No, but by then, even friendly interruptions required energy we just didn't have.
It's so true.
By the time we reached the gate, we'd been solving problems for hours, and we hadn't even left the country.
But something else had already started to happen. Like we shared a moment ago, we are so accustomed to leading with our strengths that we began to do it on autopilot. If Rusty got overwhelmed by the whole picture, I strategically narrowed things down. What needs to happen right now? And what can we press the mental pause button on and play later?
And when Erica's energy started running low, I took whatever I could off her plate. Neither of us was saying, you should be handling this differently. We were just handling things.
The situation was difficult enough. We didn't need to start directing blame toward each other or making each other feel inadequate.
And that may have been the most important thing we achieved throughout this entire trip.
Before we board, let's grab a seat at gate F17 and gather what we've noticed with a segment 1 recap. The trip presented a whole new set of challenges even before we ever reached the airport.
Erica's limited physical energy meant we had to use our resources intentionally.
Accepting help challenged Rusty's lifelong habit of being the guy who carries the heavy load.
Our different ways of responding to stress were already starting to work together.
And when things got derailed, we treated the situation as the problem, not each other.
When we come back, we'll learn what psychology tells us about leaning into what we naturally do well and why appreciating the strengths of the person beside you may be more useful than wishing they were more like you. Stay with us. Welcome back. At the airport, Erica and I were living through exactly the same mess.
I love that word, mess.
But we weren't responding to it the same way.
And psychologically, that's interesting. So let's talk about that.
Okay, Don Clifton, the grandfather of strengths psychology, spent much of his career asking a question that was different from the one psychologists up to that point had always asked. Instead of asking what's wrong with people, Clifton asked what's right with people.
So you're saying instead of focusing only on deficits, we should focus on what happens when people identify what they naturally do well and then deliberately use it. Yes?
Yes. Later strengths research has found that people who use their strengths more often tend to report greater well-being, vitality, self-esteem, and engagement, along with lower perceived stress. Other studies have found that intentionally using strengths in new ways can also increase joy.
But that doesn't mean that you're going to ignore the things you're bad at, right?
No, definitely not. I still need to use little tricks to remember people's names.
And what movies we've already watched.
Yeah, and where my glasses are. and where my shoes are.
So the point is...
Growth doesn't always begin with what's wrong with me.
Got it.
Sometimes the better question is, what am I already good at that could help here? At the airport, Erica couldn't make her post-stroke symptoms disappear. I couldn't magically stop worrying, but we could use what we had.
My instinct under stress is to get oriented. What's happening right now? Where does our attention need to go first? What parts are within our control? What resources or strengths do we already have available? And what would help us move forward from here?
Mine is almost the complete opposite.
The opposite, you say, huh?
Yeah. My instinct under stress is to notice everything that could be a problem at the same time. Something isn't working, and there are 3 other things connected to the thing that also aren't working. Another problem has just entered the chat, and suddenly my brain has opened 17 tabs. I don't remember opening most of them, and somewhere music is playing. When I'm overwhelmed, prioritizing does not come naturally. Everything can feel equally important, equally urgent, and occasionally one minor inconvenience away from becoming evidence that the entire operation is doomed.
Lovey, you plan for problems occurring in several parallel universes all at once.
Listen, preparedness is a strength.
In moderation.
Okay, fair enough. But strengths get even more useful when we stop looking only at ourselves.
That's true. Let's talk about that.
Okay, psychologist Todd Kostin and his colleagues studied romantic relationships and found that people who appreciated their partner's strengths reported greater relationship satisfaction, commitment, intimacy, investment in the relationship, and support for each other's goals.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, appreciating somebody else's strengths is very different from wishing they'd respond more like you.
And that's super relative in any close relationship, because when someone thinks, responds, or moves through the world differently than we do, it's remarkably easy to interpret that difference as a deficiency. But another person doesn't have to function like us to bring something valuable to the relationship.
Very true. Diversity is strength.
Absolutely.
Part of relationship well-being is learning to recognize what becomes possible because we're different.
Beautiful.
And appreciating the strengths, perspectives, and ways of being that each person brings.
Partnership doesn't become stronger by turning everyone into the same human. Different people notice different things and bring different perspectives to the table.
They solve problems from varying angles, bring different energy, and sometimes the trait that drives you crazy on Tuesday
That's right.
is exactly the trait you desperately need on Thursday.
Maybe even Wednesday. During this trip, if Rusty was handling something, I simply trusted him to handle it. This was a superb time to apply one of our favorite mantras. You can do it, I can do it, but you can't have me do it and also tell me how to do it.
Folks, that has saved us from numerous marital conflicts.
Absolutely.
That saved energy. It also reduced conflict because we weren't competing over whose coping style deserved custody of the emergency.
Another piece of this is appreciation.
So, back to the researchers.
Let's explore.
Adam Grant and Francisca Gino found that when people were thanked for helping, they felt more socially valued and became more willing to help again.
Yes.
It almost seems obvious, right? My dad should have read this. Other research with teammates has found that expressing gratitude can even improve how people physiologically respond during stressful cooperative tasks.
So when somebody hears, thank you, or you're really doing a great job at this, or I'm glad you're here, there's more happening than politeness.
Yeah, you're telling that person, I see what you are contributing.
Ooh, and being seen feels good, especially when everybody's exhausted and nobody is operating at full strength.
Erica and I were down to one bar that was flickering on that trip.
And our charging cords were MIA-ish.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's what we discovered. Erica didn't need my strengths to look like her strengths. Thank God. I didn't need hers to look like mine.
I don't know. You might look good in my strengths. Maybe you should try them on later.
Whoop, whoop.
We needed them to fill different holes in the boat.
Because when you're taking on water, that's a terrible time to start arguing about who owns the better bucket.
Before we get airborne, let's gather what the research gave us with a segment 2 recap. Using our strengths is associated with greater well-being, energy, and engagement.
Strengths matter most when we actually use them.
Appreciating another person's strengths is associated with stronger, more satisfying relationships.
Different strengths can complement one another instead of becoming sources of conflict.
And saying thank you helps people feel seen and valued for what they contribute.
When we come back, we'll finally leave Atlanta.
Hasta luego, Atlanta.
Hero will demonstrate how a seasoned international traveler behaves.
Good boy, Hero.
And Keel will reach a very different conclusion about aviation.
We love him unconditionally, so you do you, Keel. And Rusty's brand new guitar will begin exploring the world independently.
Ugh. Stay with us. Welcome back. After everything it took to reach the gate, getting onto the airplane felt like a victory.
We were in the first row of first class.
What? Erica had an empty seat beside her with Hero stretched out on the floor in front.
He was on his sleeping bag.
It's a little bougie that our dogs have sleeping bags. I had an empty seat beside me with Keel at my feet. For the first time all day, everything seemed to be going right.
Hero settled down immediately.
Yeah, Hero looked like he flew Copa twice a month for business.
And then there was Keel.
Yeah, Keel had been perfect throughout the entire airport.
100% true.
He was calm.
Yes.
Cooperative.
1,000% yes.
And then the airplane left the ground.
And Keel apparently had an epiphany.
Dogs don't fly.
He was terrified. Poor Keely.
He looked at me like I had personally violated a basic agreement between mammals and gravity.
We actually had some anxiety medication from the veterinarian, and because he was in cabin with us, we were able to give him a dose. So we did that and waited for it to work. So we waited and waited.
Nothing. Apparently, the medication had missed its connection in Atlanta.
So we spent most of the flight reassuring him, helping to reduce his anxiety while Hero slept.
Hero had reviewed the safety statistics and accepted the risk. Me, I coped differently. I discovered that Copa Airlines is remarkably willing to continue bringing rum to a first-class passenger.
You were determined to receive full value for those first-class tickets, weren't you, love? All 4 of them. Classic Rusty move there.
Hey, I felt economically obligated. Other than Keel's existential crisis and my aggressive participation in beverage service, the flight was pretty uneventful.
We landed in Panama City around 8:30 p.m.-ish that night, and the clock immediately became the next problem.
Yeah, we had to clear immigration, collect the luggage, manage the dogs, and find the Panamanian veterinarian who had to clear them.
We were cutting it super close on time, and we were starting to get, we as in me, a bit nervous that the vet might leave before we actually got to him. So we split up. I went looking for the veterinarian and the transportation service.
And I stayed at baggage claim.
And watched the suitcases go round and round and round.
One giant suitcase appeared, then another. Finally, everything showed up. Except my brand new carbon fiber guitar.
The Caribbean proof guitar, right?
Apparently Caribbean proof, but not Copa Airlines Atlanta proof.
Whew, you were getting like all strung up about it.
Look, I found someone at baggage services. We worked through the language barrier, and eventually he figured it out.
Rusty's guitar was on standby in Atlanta.
Then he asked where they should deliver it. And I said, we don't have an address. We are literally relocating to the jungle.
Apparently not the answer airport employees hear very often.
I tried to explain. We're moving to Tierra Oscura, off-grid. It's the rainforest. Only has boat access. No mailbox. No UPS guy heroically pushing through the mangroves.
I think your energy had been siphoned out months ago. Eventually, you guys agreed that the guitar could be sent to the Bocas del Toro airport, right? Problem solved.
Sort of. Picking it up would eventually require about $100 round-trip boat ride from Tierra Oscura. That guitar was becoming the most expensive passenger who didn't receive a meal.
Rusty. Meanwhile, I found the veterinarian, found our driver, got the massive amount of dog paperwork sorted, and eventually Rusty and I circled around to each other once again.
We didn't need to solve the same problem. Just trust in the other person's ability to lean into their strengths.
Once we reached the hotel, the checkout clerk seemed to be considering pushing back about our documentation relating to the dogs. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
But he finally said, I'll let it pass this time.
Now, I know Erica. She is not one who gets worked up over much, but I know internally she was on the verge of reciting the policy on disabled individuals and service animals. But by that point, she just said thank you to him and only rolled her eyes once when we got into the elevator. Meanwhile, Keel's medication had kicked in full power.
Our dog looked catatonic. Okay, moving on. The medicine that had contributed absolutely nothing useful to aviation waited until we were safely on the ground, then knocked him out.
So instead of going to sleep right away, we kept checking to make sure he was still alive and breathing.
There is a level of travel exhaustion where being right becomes much less important than simply getting upstairs.
I'm going to have to hit the pause button here and call you out on that one.
Why is that?
There is nothing more important, other than maybe a shopping excursion to the thrift store, than Erica being right.
Okay, you're not wrong. Carry on.
A bellman wrestled our luggage up to the room. We tipped him gratefully, closed the door, and crashed.
That day had given us almost no control over what happened, but we had managed to control something. How we responded to each challenge that came our way and how we treated each other.
And how willing we were to let the other person's strengths do some of the work.
Which brings us to this week's Intentional Human Experiment. This episode, we're calling it the Name What They Bring experiment. We want you to think of one person who regularly stands beside you in the messiness of life. Partner, friend, family member, coworker, whomever. Then consider 3 things. Number 1, a strength that comes naturally when circumstances become difficult. Number 2, a different strength this person brings to those same moments. And number 3, a specific time when that difference made the situation easier, clearer, or more manageable. Then name it. Skip the personality labels and broad compliments. Instead, we want you to describe the contribution in a way that feels specific and true. Like, when everything starts feeling like too much, your calm helps me find my footing. Maybe it's, I see things differently because of what you notice. Or, hard situations, they seem to feel a little more manageable when you find the humor in them. That's the experiment. Recognize what another person brings to the relationship and give it language, because strengths become especially meaningful when we understand not only what someone does well, but what their way of being makes possible for the people around them.
Yeah, sometimes the quality that frustrates us in one situation, Erica's slow, methodical style, is exactly the quality we are so grateful for in another situation.
Yay! Before we turn out the hotel light, let's gather what this part of the trip has shown us with a quick segment 3 recap.
Different strengths allow us to solve different problems at the same time.
Trust meant neither of us had to supervise the other's contribution.
Humor gave us breathing room when the stress piled up.
Some problems belonged to the situation, not to either partner.
And appreciation becomes more meaningful when we name exactly what another person brings. When we come back, there is still one more airplane, one deeply suspicious dog, one pickup truck, one panga, and finally the dock of our new home. Stay with us. Welcome back.
Bienvenidos de nuevo a todos.
The next morning, our dear Panamanian friend Virgilio showed up and helped me move our 4 gigantic suitcases to Panama City's smaller airport so we could send them to Bocas as cargo.
Te amo mucho, Virgilio.
Then he deposited me back at the hotel. Later in the morning, our pet transport driver came back to pick up Erica, me, the dogs, our carry-ons, and what little remained of our functioning brains. By that point, we weren't tired anymore.
Or maybe we were.
We were low-bottomized.
If somebody had asked me what day it was, I probably would have just handed them a dog leash.
And if somebody would have asked me where we lived, I would have just said, jungle.
And still, there was that one final flight to go.
A small, single-prop airplane. Hero climbed aboard like a professional.
Attaboy, Hero.
Keel took one look at it and realized the humans had learned absolutely nothing from the previous flight.
Come on, Keel.
From takeoff until he could see land again,
Keel was terrified again. His big 100-pound ass climbed up in the seat right on top of us, and he was panting like he was completely running out of oxygen. Keel, I love you, mate, but golly be, my friend, 45 minutes later, thank God, Bocas appeared beneath him.
Ooh, we landed. And there, in that little airport, something went right.
Okay, hold on. Did you just say something went right?
Can you believe it?
No.
A beacon from the gods was shown on our 4 giant suitcases. They were there waiting for us.
I'd never been happier to see luggage in my life.
From there, a pickup truck taxi hauled us, the dogs, and the luggage across Bocas Town to the docks.
That's where we met Jerry from Tierra Oscura. Hi, Jerry. We appreciate the ride. Thank you, mate. He loaded our whole traveling circus onto his panga. Ooh, yeah, minus Rusty's guitar, which was apparently enjoying an extended stay in Atlanta. Then we all pushed away from Bocas Town. And for the first time in months, we didn't have to solve or resolve a single thing.
We just sat there. Unlike air travel, both dogs loved the boat ride. Bocas Town got smaller behind us. The air moved across the boat. Mangroves came into view. And finally, there was our dock.
Muchas gracias, Jerry. At the dock, Viv was waiting. Our new neighbor had brought her SUV down to help us get all of that luggage up to the house. We hadn't even officially moved in, and people were already extending that beautiful, intentional community energy our way.
That became our first real lesson about this community. Off-grid does not mean alone. Actually, when there isn't a grocery store, a utility company, or an Amazon truck coming to save you.
Thank God. I remember you and I went to Raleigh once, and between Morganton and Raleigh, it's a 2.5-hour drive, and I counted 48 Amazon trucks.
Well, in our new situation, good neighbors became pretty damn important.
In celebration of our arrival, we decided to do what, Rusty?
Cut the dogs loose.
Ooh, at which time they immediately discovered a mangrove swamp.
Disney World for dogs. Within minutes, Hero and Keel looked like they'd taken seasonal work on a shrimp boat. Black mud, water, smells, things moving in the bushes.
You can say smells again.
And in Keel goes to the back of Viv's SUV. Twice. Thank you, Viv, for giving Keel's momentary lack of sanity a pass.
So, after months of planning our grand international retirement adventure, our first official activity in tropical paradise was hosing swamp mud off two filthy dogs.
They were filthy.
You know, I think both of us were thinking the same thing. Please, God, let us never have to make that trip happen again.
And again, atheists, that's how stressful it was.
I recall our bogus friend Jody saying something about midway through our relocation process. You remember?
I never forget it.
Oh, it became our mantra every time things got tough.
She said, if it were easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Boy, did we cling to that.
There are stretches when you're not feeling courageous or adventurous. You're mostly wondering what the hell you've done and whether the luggage is coming.
But when I look back on that trip, the thing I'm proudest of isn't that we got here. I mean, that's great. It's wonderful. It's unbelievable. But it's how we got here. We were exhausted. So many things went right, but so many things went wrong. I wasn't physically at my best, and my beautiful husband, Rusty, achieved clinical level glass half empty.
Listen, I have an advanced certification in glass half empty.
Ooh, but we never made each other the problem.
We leaned into what each of us does well. We trusted each other. We accepted help when we needed it.
Even if one's pride had to take a momentary backseat.
And we kept solving the next thing. Not perfectly, sometimes not gracefully,
Yeah.
occasionally with excessive rum.
I like how you preface that with occasionally.
But we did it together.
Yeah. You know, if you're in the middle of something difficult yourself, maybe give yourself a little credit for what you're already great at. You don't have to handle a hard situation beautifully for your strengths to be working. Sometimes strength is in the staying calm or thinking ahead or asking for help. And sometimes it's simply looking at the person beside you and realizing they're good at something that I'm not. And thank God.
Or, whatever deity fits your personal worldview.
In our case, apparently, whichever one handles airline baggage the most proficiently. Whoo-wee! Now that was a trip.
That was a trip.
I say we call it a wrap on this one, and let's do a full episode recap. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
In part 2 of the Panama Diaries, we explored how stress can reveal strengths we don't always notice during easier times.
Why using what we naturally do well can support well-being and reduce stress.
Why appreciating different strengths can make partnerships stronger.
How trust lets people divide problems instead of multiplying them.
And why accepting help can be every bit as important as offering it.
But reaching Tierra Escura wasn't the end of this story. It was the beginning of a completely new one for us.
In the third and final part of this special series, we'll share what happens when the tropical fantasy meets actual off-grid life.
Limited solar power, the tail end of the rainy season, weather that can change completely while three sophisticated meteorological sources confidently tell you something else.
In Bocas del Toro, meteorology carries the same credibility as Ouija boards. Maybe it'll rain, maybe it won't, but it's definitely going to rain.
Rainforest, duh. We're also discovering an incredibly warm new community and developing an entirely new set of life skills along the way. We're learning how to provision groceries when the store isn't 10 minutes away anymore, how to think differently about electricity when every watt counts, how to understand where our water comes from, how much we're using, and what happens when something in the system stops working.
We're learning boats, weather, tides, solar power, generators, batteries, pumps, tools, maintenance, and the surprisingly complex logistics of getting ourselves and pretty much anything else from one place to another. Basically, we're becoming more resourceful, adaptable, and mechanically curious than either of us ever expected to be.
I love that word, curious. And we're learning that off-grid life has a fascinating way of turning things we once considered conveniences into systems we actually need to understand, which brings us to one pressing problem.
We desperately need a panga. That's the boat version of a pickup truck. Because when your driveway is the Caribbean,
and ours is,
eventually you need your own damn car. It just needs an outboard motor.
So come back for Tercera Parte, Part 3, because we finally made it to the life we'd spent years imagining.
And now we have to figure out how the hell it works. Until then, keep noticing, keep comparing notes, run the experiment, and wherever life takes you this week,
we'll save you a seat on the dock.
Assuming we can find a boat to get you there.
Y no olvides seguir ajustando tu latitude. How'd I do? What do you think?
No, it was
good.
Sounded good to me.
And don't forget to keep adjusting your latitude.